Hey, welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show, where I help you discover the power of communication and the keys that unlock the doors to freedom in every area of your life. Friend, thank you for sharing some time with me today. I've missed you. I've missed you because when I skip a day or two of recording and sending you a communication, I actually miss you. There's something really profound and intimate about this platform of podcasting, and when I record to you, I actually feel as though we are connecting. And so when I don't do it for a day or so, I miss you. I miss that connection. So thank you for letting me connect with you today. Here's a little update. So this is week 2 of podcasting, full week 2. So I think this is episode number 14, maybe 15. Okay, the point is, I'm new at this, and as I continue on, my plan is to grow and expand, just like that's probably your plan and why you're listening. This podcast is about communication and tapping into the kind of communication that you are best at, that you've been gifted at for such a time as this, really tapping into that, finding what it is, and helping and empowering you to expand and improve and master that genre of communication so that you can grow and launch into new spaces of freedom in every area of your life. Because, my friend, I do believe that communication is king. It is the key that unlocks the doors to freedom in pretty much every area of your life. And it doesn't just mean the spoken word. It could mean writing. It could mean a form of art. It could mean nonverbal communication, dance. Let's face it, communication spans more arenas than we typically give it credit for. But you have a very specific and special gifting in an area of communication. And when you're stuck there, it can really limit you. So I am here to encourage you and start kind of cracking the code on how you can better express yourself and communicate, again, in any area of life. So I want to talk to you today very briefly about never say never. Let's say it together. Never say never. Why? Because the minute you do, there will be a cosmic joke that is played on you, and that never thing will find you. It will search you down, it will hunt you down, and it will introduce itself to you in the most hilarious of ways. Now, why is this? Well, it's a spiritual concept, I believe, because it introduces an element of judgment. When you say, I will never, ... or I'll never say, I will never do, you have a tendency to, so that's kind of a judgment. So that it's like you're judging that thing. And now there are 2 different types of judgment. There's discernment, discerning of something, and then there's another type of judgment, and that is judgment onto damnation. So, and even if you read the scripture, there's krino and dikrino, 2 different types of judgment. So when we say, I would never, we are literally opening the door for that judgment, like a boomerang, to sling its way back our direction to prove us right or wrong. It's a way of creating, through 2 polarities, it's the way of creating new perspective for us. It's a way of softening our edges. So let me give you an example. I have lived in an area of Minnesota for many, many years. I would drive through other areas of Minnesota on my way to, for example, my grandparents' place as a kid. And even as an adult, when I would go, see different places or go visit different towns and areas, I would always drive through this one area and I would always say, I would never live here. I would say, I found myself saying that quite often. I'm not sure what it was or why I thought in my head I was supposed to have a visceral reaction to this particular town. I think it has something to do with because it's all connected. So when I was in high school, I remember this controversy between towns happening, okay? And they're kind of like rival towns. Only this town was not really a rival town because it was much smaller. It was just kind of a nobody pays attention to that town, right? It was like a nothing. You drove through it just to get somewhere else, right? And so I kind of just would always joke, I would never live there. You'll never guess where I ended up buying my home recently. You got it. The very place I always said I would never live. I couldn't even identify what I didn't like about it. Just something got stuck in my neural pathway and I couldn't get it unstuck and I couldn't describe it. It was just a thing. So here I am all these years later, and I found the property and the land and the home that was just right for me and my family in that exact town I said I'd never live in. So this whole I would never thing, there's a spiritual concept related, there are energetic concepts related, but making that bold statement without perspective or knowledge, I think is sometimes why the opportunity comes back around for us to reevaluate the very thing we've made a judgment on, right? So I would never read that book. I would never date that man or that woman. I would never live here. I would just watch and see if you've ever said anything like that, how the opportunity to take a second look at that will miraculously come around back into your field of experience. It's kind of hilarious. So would you just humor me and take a moment, just think now. Can you think of anything you've ever said, I would never, ... that you actually did? Or that you're actually now considering doing in a new season of your life? I was moving my stuff in the first week in this new place, and I was starting to get to know some of the neighbors and absolutely loving them. And then I decided, well, I'm going to go down and kind of explore this little town I swore I would never live in. So I drove down, I had a couple errands to run, and I ran to the post office, and the man behind the counter made kind of a joke about the t-shirt I was wearing. It was a Mama Bear t-shirt. I don't know, somebody gave it to me because I have kids, and of course my kids are older now. He made a funny comment about it and I joked back about it. Very nice exchange, very pleasant. Then I went to the little family-owned grocery store and I picked up a couple of items, and I'm kidding you not, I have never seen a happier, more joy-filled cashier in all of my life. I mean, it was like he was born to be behind that register, helping me find what I needed and then checking me out. It was just delightful. And then I kind of drove around and I'm like, wait a second. This is kind of cute. And oh, wow, look at that little antique shop. And hey, look at that. Oh, that's a little cute family-owned coffee shop. Oh man, look, there's a little ice cream shop. Like, I'm starting to discover these little things that I think are very quaint and very sweet. And in this season of my life, that very quaint, homey, hometown, people kind of know each other and smile at each other. Everybody nods to each other as they're coming and going. That is exactly right for me right now in this season of life. It was not right for me years ago. It's perfect right now. But this idea of polarity, right? As soon as we say, I would never, and then imagine that thing you claim you would never do or think or say or whatever, it's a very interesting concept related to polarities, because the state of having two opposite or contradictory tendencies or opinions or ideas are often related to things like male and female. Now think about the concepts. Two polarities, what? Fit perfectly together. There's a design there that is absolutely fantastically perfect. When we think about things from an energetic standpoint, the magnetic field peaks in strength immediately after switching polarity. So there's something to be said for a strength being infused upon the switching of a polarity. Isn't that amazing? I mean, this is a concept that broads a little wider than we maybe imagined. But there's something very deep and profound here. When we want to say never, just encourage us to use that as a beautiful point to hit pause, take that breath. As I'm always talking about taking that breath, that deep cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth slowly, because there's that energetic reset again. It resets our body and our neurology. What did I hear? What did I imagine that is attached to me saying never about this thing? Now, I am not talking about deep-seated moral issues. I'm not talking about switching up your moral compass, okay? There are principles and values that live on the inside of you that you absolutely ought to honor, and it is right to do so. I'm talking about the more surface things. I remember saying one time, I will never read the book The Shack. Why? Because I was working at a Christian radio station, and there was tons of controversy over this book. And then the movie came out, and I thought, nope, not going to touch it. No. Because I was way too spiritually evolved and pious to mess with something that had a little bit of controversy attached to it. Well, guess what? After saying I will never read the book or see the movie, I did. And it blew me away. And it got me thinking in new ways. And I'm sorry I didn't do it. I'm kind of sorry that I didn't engage the material sooner. If for no other reason, it just forced me to think about some things related to God and humanity and human experiences and our concepts of the divine and all of those things connected. So this isn't about whether you loved or hated the book or the movie The Shack. I'm just simply using that as one example of why it is really wise to engage the questioning behind why we are saying, I will never that thing, right? I will never fill in the blank. Find that thing that you say you would never do and examine that from all sides. Turn it around, upside down, flip it on its head, turn it around, look at that. Maybe examine why you're saying that. And you never know, it might be just the thing that you want to consider in order to move and grow you and get you thinking outside of a particular box. Just a thought. Again, my friend, I so appreciate you spending some time with me today. Thank you. I cannot wait to connect with you again on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to The Stephanie Stevens Show. Please remember to subscribe so we can stay connected and you never miss an episode of the podcast. Oh, and if you haven't left a rating yet, please be sure to do so. It helps incredible people like you find the podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.